Hey guys, Long Haul Larry, and it has been painting and cleaning day. Well, actually, going on second day. um, Basically, I've gotten a motor to this point right here. Now there's other things that covers and the front plate, all these different things. And you know what? Ford in their muscle cars, their blocks are always blue. Ford, that's what the color is blue. And in their diesels, they always paint them black. They always paint them black. And the guy who did my transmission, he said something. I brought it in. He was like, "Oh, it's a diesel. Oh, them things are always so oily and dirty." And I think that's why they kind of paint them black, is because oil and stuff, lakes and stuff. Because I've had many semis, and you fix, if something leaks oil or something, you fix it. You put a new gasket, put a new seal in it or whatever, keep it from doing that. So yeah, why not make it look nice? You're gonna put all this money into the engine, why not make it look nice? And so I have spent a lot of time cleaning and prepping, a lot of time cleaning and prepping, because if you do spend more time doing that, then it'll last longer. And I think the finished product's coming out pretty good. I'll show it to you. So here is the engine. It's all ready for valve covers, all the covers, all these start getting bolted on, the front cover, all that stuff. But needed to paint the block first, and I have come up with an idea. I'm going to paint the engine block black. I'm painting the heads black, and then you can see it came out pretty nice. I mean, it's a pretty nice looking block right now. And what I'm using is this. I'm using this Pour 15 paint. That's a rust inhibitor, but then also they do sell this in an engine paint, and it says it's good for temperatures up to 350 degrees. Guaranteed not to burn off. Professional use only. I don't know. Am I a professional? But I think it'll work fine, because your engine's not going to get the hottest temperature it's ever going to get is like 220, 230 or so. It gets hotter than that, you gotta probably better shut it down. But I think that like over here by the exhaust and stuff, this is where engines always rust, is where these head bolts are and stuff. And I think over in this area there, there's a lot more heat. So yeah, it may burn off over here. I'm not sure. We'll see how that works out. But then what I decided to do is add a little color. And so I have the oil pan. I'm going to paint. This is Ford Corporate Blue. I kind of like it because it's a little brighter than the basic Ford engine blue. It's a little bit brighter. I thought it would pop a little bit more. So I need to put another coat on the covers, because they were painted black, and I scuffed them all up and cleaned them and everything. But painting over top of them, it kind of bleeds through the back. So I got to put one more coat back on those. But the water pump assembly, that's all done. I have rebuilt. I've installed a new water pump in there. So now I'm waiting for that to dry. Then I'll take the tape off, and I'm going to do the water outlets and the thermostat and everything in black. This is the turbo, what do you call this? A turbo pipe? I don't know, Y pipe? I don't know what the proper name is. It mounts to the back of the turbo. And I thought, you know what? Let's paint that blue. I got a special little turbo coming. And I was trying to rebuild the one I have. I can't get a rebuild kit for it. And so I ended up having to just order a whole new turbo, because I know my seals are leaking. When I pulled it apart, there was a lot of oil getting the lines and going into the oil cooler. So I know that they're leaking. So I thought it looked pretty cool with my new turbo and stuff, and paint that blue. And then here's your HPOP reservoir, your high pressure oil reservoir that sits on top of the cover, which is over there, and that bolts onto the front of the engine. I thought that looked pretty cool accent against the black. And then this plate here goes on the back of the block, in between the bell housing and transmission and the engine. And so I painted just the strip that you're going to see with that blue. I thought it'd be kind of neat. So now I'm just letting all the blue dry. I'll be able to get another coat of this on tonight. This is already, this is drying out, so I can put another coat on in time. Some of this other stuff is black stuff that's getting painted black. It's just a lot of cleaning and stuff. The motor mounts, I was surprised. I was thinking to get new ones, but man, these rubbers are not even. There's no slide. They're not worn at all. So I'm just kind of cleaning them up with a wire brush and everything. And yes, I'm using my radiator as a table. I have a brand new radiator I'm putting in. But it the motor mounts are really good, so I'm gonna leave them. And then on the transmission, I'm actually painting the oil pan blue too, the same color. And then the back steel parts here, that's all rusty, I'm gonna be painting this with the black. And I think that'll look pretty good. So this is the oil cooler, and it gets pressed into those two fittings. There's some O-rings that are in the kit here and everything, and this gets pressed in. And what happens is coolant goes through here, right through in here. Coolant goes through there through the block, it gets circulated through there, and then the oil flows through there too. And so that's why it's an oil cooler, because the oil flows through and then the coolant goes through to keep the oil cooler. And so this is a new one, and this is all steel and everything, so I'm gonna actually mount this one, and then I'm going to paint in it so this thing doesn't get all rusty and nasty looking. Who wants it? Gotta watch the paint dry. So in the meantime of doing that, I figured I would keep moving on and do a few other things. One of the things is the vibration dampener. Now, I usually always replace these on semis and stuff like that, but this is not a fluid-filled vibration dampener. I have looked at it and stuff, and basically what this is a rubber piece that's in here that's glued in between this inner hub, and there's an outer hub, and then there's a piece of rubber that's in here. And what this does is it's glued to it on both sides, and then the crank is spinning and everything, and if something like, you know, your AC kicks in or an alternator goes out, a bearing goes out and it locks up or whatever, and a belt cranks on it, it's not going to just jam things. It has a rubber that takes the impact and everything. You really don't need to replace these. If the rubber is still intact and everything, and it's not ripped or nothing like that, there's really no reason to replace those. But when I put this on, so I'm going to clean this up and I'm just going to repaint this one. But when you put this on, there's actually a wear sleeve that's on the inside of this, and this is where your front seal goes on. And I felt it, and I'm putting a brand new, it's getting a new low oil pressure pump and everything, and that has the new front seal in it. And I was feeling this, and then she's got some grooves in it, and it wasn't leaking, maybe a little bit. I don't know if that's from sitting around here or if it was leaking a little bit, but it has a few little grooves in it. It's not the smoothest. So we're going to cut this off, and I'm going to show you guys how to remove this wear sleeve, and then put a new one on. So basically what you can do is take like a cutoff wheel or something, but you can't fit a cutoff wheel down inside there. So you can just use an air saw here, and you just want to cut through this, but you don't want to hit the surface underneath. If you do, if you nick it or something, it's not the end of the world, but just try to be very careful doing it. So now we can get a chisel. You have to excuse my mess here. I got a lot of things going on right at this moment. A lot of different projects happening at the same time. And you basically just put that chisel in that cut unit. Now, I didn't go all the way through. And you can kind of break it. And you guys can't see this. it goes. Okay, so now I got it to there. I got, basically what I did is I cut through that about halfway through it. And then I took the chisel and I just put it into what I cut there. And then I just tapped it a few times. And what that did is it broke it loose. And then it comes out. And there is not a mark on that thing. That is perfectly fine. And so there is not even a cut or nothing on there. All right, so we have cleaned up our surface here. There was a little bit of rust on just on the bottom. We just kind of cleaned up, but you don't want to sand this too much. You want this to be a nice tight fit. But we're just gonna press it on. We're not gonna use these special tools. You can have special tools for every single vehicle, truck, whatever out there. There's some special tool for putting on this or putting on that. Sometimes they're needed, but sometimes you can just get by without. So this here, there is a beveled edge, and that's going to go out because when you put this on, that goes into the seal. So it doesn't damage the seal. And basically, I'm going to put this Permatex sleeve compound on here. It's the same stuff that we used for putting in the injector sleeves. What you want to do is want to get it on there, and you want to get it on there straight. So that's started on there straight. And we're on there straight. So this is actually the low pressure oil pump gear, and it has a recess in here, and that fits right over the top of this. It's gonna fit right over it. So we can just set that on there. I'm gonna have to reposition it. And you want to make sure that you're right center as best you can in the press. Okay. So now it's going on. You got to reposition to get this to fit over the top of it. Because it's got to fit over that lip. Okay. All right, guys, my camera fell over. Didn't have it positioned the greatest. So we drove it down, and basically we used that lip, and that went down, seated it down there. Now we're on there straight and stuff. So now we need to go on farther. So now we just use the rest of the low pressure oil pump, the outside of it. And see, this is the seal that it seals against here, that this is setting here so this has a nice surface to seal on. But the inner part of this front oil pump has a lip in there, which is the exact diameter of it. So then you can just take this, put that on there, and now that's pressing perfectly straight on there. And now we can just crank her down. There it is. I heard it seat. I heard it go all the way on. That's why I knew it was done. So now you have a brand new seal and a brand new sleeve on there that has a perfect surface. And see, there's a step right up inside here, and you have to get it to that step. Because when this new gear, when this new oil pump goes on there, that's what it sits against. So it has to go against there. So there you go. Got the new one clean. We got all the oil came out of my old pump. But yeah, you can just use the old pump and everything, and that puts it right in there. Don't need a special tool for that. All right, guys, since I want to put the oil cooler on, I need to press that in. I think I might be able to turn, I don't know. I'm just gonna do it and just line it up right. To do that, I need to put the front cover on the engine over here first. And for me to get that on there, I'm actually very afraid of letting all the weight on this old engine stand. It's not a huge engine stand. It's made for little car engines and stuff like that. And I've had this thing since I think I've been about 18 to 20 years old or something. I bought it at a yard sale. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to install the lift points on the motor. And I have painted them up. I have them all painted up with that 415 paint, the rust inhibitor stuff, and it's high temp. I'm going to install those, and that way I can use my motor lift to kind of bring it over the top of the engine and pick up and give it support. I'm just afraid that the engine mount, it really, when I first mounted it on there with the heads on it, this thing, it talked at me. It was like, oh, I don't like you. All right, guys, we got our gaskets in place. I did put some silicone down in these grooves. There's like these blue gaskets. One goes over here. There's a left and a right gasket that goes on this timing cover. And then you use this RTV, and there's like a little groove there, and you just put a nice thick bead in there, and it'll press down in there and seal. But and you put a nice bead up in there. Got a little gap right there. I did put a little bit of RTV down in the gap around there, because on the timing cover there's like a groove down in there. It's really hard to clean that out really good. I tried and cleaned it, and it came out pretty good. I mean, I was very happy with it. It's as good as you're gonna get. But the rubber O-ring in there, you can kind of see it right here. It comes with this kit from jelibuilt. It has these little like fingers on it so that it holds in the spot and everything. I'm just wondering about it sealing on the timing cover. We want to make sure we have no leaks whatsoever. So I got that all set up. This comes in a kit. It's pretty cool. It's a whole printout and everything. It basically shows what every single part is and where it's used and everything. That's pretty neat. I think there's a part number for it. I mean, here's all the gas, all the O-rings, fuel, oil system. It shows everything. So that's pretty neat stuff. It's neat to have. I'm glad they included that with the kit. So let's throw this cover on. All right. So you're gonna make sure you have both surfaces really nice and clean, which of course you gotta have everything. But clean this all up really good and everything. And we are ready to install. There is 2 guide pins in here. They go in these little holes right here, and that's what keeps this all aligned and everything. You do not need a special tool to align the front seal or nothing, because these guide pins are in here. So you just put it till it goes in the groove there. Boom. There it is. And it is 15 foot-pounds of torque. There we go. Alright, so I actually drew myself a picture on when I pulled all the bolts out. Because this thing here had a lot of bolts in it. I have rebuilt this water pump. It's got a new water pump assembly in it. Got the O-ring on there. Short. It's a real long one. Goes all the way to the block. There's another long one. Another one. Medium long. So this is 18 foot-pounds of torque. Alright, so it's all up there and everything. You may have noticed some of the silicone coming out of there. I put some in the water pump housing, the groove that was in there, because once again, it's really hard to clean those and everything. There is a silicone gasket that goes in there, but just as an added protection. The surface that it was sealing against was really good, but inside that little groove, there's some pits and stuff in there, and I just, you want to make sure you don't have leaks. So it is actually the stuff that came with the kit. It's made by International. It's made for this. It looks just like Ultra Gray. Alright guys, we are going to throw in our oil cooler, and you want to clean out the old gasket material that's inside here and everything. So that's a really good sealing surface inside there for the O-rings to match up to. The old O-rings usually leave a little residue. You can just take a little bit of this real fine emery cloth and just be careful. Don't take too much. It's very important because there's 2 O-rings in here, and they're on the oil cooler. You put them on here, and one goes right here. It's a real big one, and then there's one out here. And see, coolant comes through here. It gets pumped through here, and it's basically like a radiator inside here. And coolant comes out, and coolant will go, let's see which one. Coolant will go into here. Or no, I'm sorry. Coolant will go into here. And it circulates coolant through there. And then this one here is the oil. And so the oil goes through the end of it. So oil gets pumped through all these little tubes, which is like a radiator going through, and then coolant is circling around to cool off the oil. So basically, I have both surfaces all cleaned and everything else. And I want to kind of get a marking where there is a notch on here, and this little tab here is supposed to go into that notch. And so you just kind of slide it in there, get it close to that notch. And I don't have the O-rings on here. And then I'm going to put that in there. And then I can just zip that in. I actually cannot find the other bolt. I gotta do some searching and cleaning and stuff. But I want to get this mounted up. And then what I can do is just take a little scribe. and make marks on there. And that way when I take it over to the press and I press it in, it doesn't take a lot of force, but that way when I take it over to the press and put the O-rings on and grease everything up and press this all together in one assembly, it's all lined up, and that way these will be straight and the gasket surfaces will be nice and straight, exactly how they bolt up to the block and how they bolt up to the front timing cover. All right. So what you can do is just take some grease. Grease this up real good down in here where the O-rings sit. If you cut an O-ring or it doesn't get seated properly or something, you actually get coolant in your oil. Or oil in your coolant. Be about the same, right? So it's pretty important to do this. So these are the two gaskets, and basically you can put grease on them, on this stuff here. If you use like a dishwashing detergent or something like that, that's actually going to get into your coolant system, and that's not going to work so well. You're going to end up lots of bubbles and stuff going through and foaming and stuff. So grease, it just heats up. This is going to get hot and everything else. Grease is going to heat up and go up and burn off. So we're going to put our first one on. Like so. It's right there. These are all gas. This all came with my rebuild kit. And that's the second one. And you can see this is the rebuild kit. Here's the gaskets for the other side. But rebuild kit's getting a little low. It's getting down there now. And there we go. Thinking about buying an air hydraulic jack to put in here. All right, guys. Guess what? I had to clean my bench. Things were getting a little chaotic and stuff, and had piles of different stuff everywhere. I could not find the bolts, and I made sure to put everything kind of with the items or with piles of this and that. You know, these are just kind of random bolts in the frame and all this stuff. But I couldn't find a bolt, and I found them. I did have them together. So I just needed to get the cleaning. I was actually starting on one side of the shop, and I was going to go to all of the other over my table and stuff. And I cleaned the bench, and I got to my little roll cart, and there they were. But I looked in my rebuild kit, and I got the gaskets. Looked at my little layout sheet, and these are the two gaskets that are going to go on here. And I got the surfaces all cleaned and everything. And I got the surfaces cleaned on the block. Now it's calling for these front bolts here to be at 24 foot-pounds. Oh, that's there. And then the back ones are calling for 18 foot-pounds. There's so many different reports. Some people are saying 14, some are saying 18. There we go. Alrighty. So, this is our new cam sensor. They're not very expensive. Got a rate from Ford. I think it was like 30 bucks, something like that. And pretty simple. Just, you put a little grease. There's an O-ring on here. Keeps the oil from coming out the diamond cover. Just pop her in so. And then there's just one bolt right on here. And it gets torqued to 18 foot-pounds. All right, we're gonna open up our oil pump here. This is our low oil pressure pump. I'm gonna pull this apart. Well, you need to coat all the parts with oil, with fresh, clean oil. And the main thing about this is to remember how this is going to get mounted on. And you can see that the front seal is already installed in it. There is 2 guide pins on the on the timing cover, and those 2 pins are going to go into here, and that's going to line this up. So you don't need a special tool to do this or nothing. The one thing about it is it's going to mount on the engine like this, and the vibration dampener mounts on the outside here. And on the actual pump itself, there's, I don't know if you can be able to see or not, but there's lettering on here. It says dampener. Sometimes these will say out or dampener side or whatever. This just says dampener. That means that needs to go towards the dampener. So it's going to go and it's going to sit in like that. And then this gear here also has the same printing on it. And that needs to go inside at the same direction. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to coat things with oil. So we're just going to coat the inside of it. I don't know why. Seems kind of dual purpose, but because we're going to do this. So then we're going to have it dampener side. We're going to drop that in. So now we're going to get the inner gear, which has a dampener here. We're going to do the same thing. And we're going to wiggle it and get it into position here. There we go. And now we can just take oil, just hit the O-ring, coating it all your own, and it will just push down in, and it has those little ears on there, and that's going to hold that O-ring in place while you put it on. And that's really all that you got to do to prep it. So it's going to go on there, and the inner gear, basically you need to turn it. I'm going to get it close. Okay. Fucking oil everywhere. It's going to go on. There we go. Pin is in. There you go. Now we're in. So these are going to go to 15 foot-pounds. All right, guys. We are ready to install the front dampener, vibration dampener. When I pulled it off, I noticed that there was some of this RTV in the keyway slot in the middle of inside this thing. I'm thinking they had an issue with it leaking in the keyway, so I'm going to do the same thing. All right, there's a keyway on the crank. It's over here. So I just line that up. I got my new wear sleeve on here. Just kind of find the keyway. There it goes. There we go. Now I got to put the bolt in there. Why is that not turning over? So something isn't quite right. I don't know what it is, but I got to pull this vibration dampener back off and see what's going on. All right, so we have a straight edge, mechanic straight edge here, and if I hold it on there, this is a 0.001 millimeter feeler gauge. What's the thinnest one you got on there? See, it goes under there. It does not go under the gear. See, it goes under the housing, but it will not go under the gear. And I don't really care what size you kind of go up to, because this should be lower than the housing, because the housing bolts tight on there. This has to be play. I don't know how many thousandths or whatever this is supposed to have, but okay, there I'm fitting a 0.005 by 127 feeler gauge, and it's tight. I can feel drag. I can't do anything with the gear. This side over here goes right through. So this oil pump is faulty. This is a new oil pump that I got from Jelibuilt. And I just had an idea in my head, and I'm like, there's got to be something wrong here, because when it clamps up, because when I put it on there, it would kind of was rocking a little bit. It wasn't sitting against the cover, the timing cover flush, it seemed like. And when I torqued down the bolts and everything, it seemed to pull. And I started thinking about it. I think it's one of two things, and I think what it is I think the housing has been machined wrong. And so what I did is I took a flat bar here, and this is a 0.005 millimeter feeler gauge. It's very, very thin, okay? And put it in there, and look at that. I can slide it right alongside on the housing. I can get it right in there, no problem. I can get it over on this side. Goes right there. If I try to put it where the gear is, it just hits. Same thing on that side. So what's happening is the oil pump gears themselves inside here, the internals, actually are sitting higher than what the housing is. So when you bolt the housing up, these press right against the timing cover, and it just locks the engine up. It won't turn over. And I was like, wow, that was machine wrong. You know, and mistakes happen. They do. I mean, you know, everybody makes a mistake. And I called up the company, Jelibuilt. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. It always bothers me. I called them guys up. And actually, I emailed the guy that I was dealing with the sponsorship for the video. And I emailed him. And talked to him about it. And I explained everything, what I did, what the problem is I was having, and everything else. And then I thought, because I want to I'm kind of on a time thing here. I'm kind of trying to get this done kind of fast here. And I need my vehicle back. I got to find a job. And I contacted them, and then I went onto their website, and I started sending out a problem, get my phone number in there so they can call me and we can get this resolved. And as I was filling that out, the guy responded to me. I mean, 5-10 minutes, the guy responded to me. And his question was, is the cover new? So I'm thinking he was talking about the timing cover. And I was like, dude, that wouldn't really even matter. But, you didn't read it thoroughly enough, I don't think, because the old one fits on there, but this one, when I put it on, it locks the motor up. And I actually shot a video. I actually sent him the video of the install that I shot for you guys. I sent him how, me installing it, showing him that I was installing all these correctly in the correct, direction, damn near on there. And the main reason why is because there's a big cutout here, and that is for the vibration dampener to sit up inside. It has to sit up there. So if you put this back on there, if you put this wrong and you tighten that down, it would clamp against this gear and wouldn't let it turn. So that's what he was probably thinking. And I knew that he was going to think, oh, you're installing it wrong or something, And that's what the hard thing is with distributors is they sell parts to people and they send them across the country, and then somebody has a problem or something. Then they kind of go, well, you're probably not doing it right, or you probably didn't put, they have to think that. So I made a video and I showed him this. I showed him how I could put a flat edge across there, and you could put a shim on the housing, but you can't put one on the gear. It won't fit underneath there. So that means that the gear is higher. So either the two gears, either they're machined, and I'm going to tell you that this inner gear here, the actual probably pump itself, actually there is a lip from this gear to the outer gear. So this might be the outer gear. You can feel it. There's a lip. Because if I put this on here, I can actually get the feeler gauge on here. On the inner gear, but I cannot on the outer. So that's probably what it is. It's probably the outer gear is probably not machined right. It's probably too thick to fit in that space. And I sent him that video, and he was like, oh, can you send me pictures of stuff? And I don't know what the pictures really explain, but what I did is I put together a little short, like 4 or 5 minute video showing how I installed it, finding the problem, putting my old pump on there, then it works fine, and then I showed him how I did that straight edge and showed him that. And I just did it in an unlisted video just so he could just see it, and I sent him a link to it. Guy responded back to me super fast and was like, wow, I've never seen that before. He's like, I've sold a lot of these and I've actually installed these myself, and I have never had a pump do that. It's just a human error, I think it's this outer ring here, that part of that gear, that outer ring. I think that's what it is, because you can feel a lip from the inner to the outer. So I think this is just not machined correctly, and it's not letting it sit down in there far enough. Because there should be, it should sit below the level of the housing. And I don't know what it is, if it's a thousandths or what it is, but there should be some room for it to move back and forth. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to have some room. And he was like, hey, yeah, definitely is a bad pump and everything else. I apologize. What address do you want a new pump shipped to? And he goes, I'll ship it right out. So gave him the address, the same address that shipped the other stuff to. Ship it to it, and we can get one. So yeah, I got a bad little pump. And the moral of the story here is, whenever you mount something on an engine, especially something internal or something like this, every time that you mount something, you should always try to turn the crank over. And I usually do. I don't know why I didn't do that. I was just kind of moving along, and I put the vibration dampener on without checking it first. And I don't know, I just kind of skipped that step to see if it was free. And then I went to the next one, and I had to backtrack and everything. But anytime you install something in the engine, you always want to turn the crank over and make sure everything is still working properly. But we are going to move on, and we'll wait for this, and we can close this motor up yet, and we can actually get the motor mounted in the truck and everything while we're waiting. I'm expecting probably Tuesday, Wednesday. Tomorrow's Friday, so he'll probably ship it tomorrow. I doubt he'll get it out today. That'd be pretty fast if he did. The guy's responding super fast though. And that's pretty cool to have a distributor like that. That you call or you send an email to. You don't even call them. They do have a phone number. I didn't call him, but I've been in contact with this guy through emails. And to get such fast responses is pretty crazy. But so he'll send out a new one. I would guess probably Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's fine. I got lots of things I can do and everything till then, and I can mount this in when it's in the truck, so not that big a deal. So we're gonna move on, and I'm gonna start mounting. I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in a high pressure oil pump system. I'm gonna mount that in there and get that in there. We're just trying to move along and close the motor up so things don't have access to get dirt and grind inside my motor.